Honored Nobel laureates, Your Excellencies, dear guests, dear students, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure and an honor for me to welcome you all to Uppsala University and to this panel discussion. I have to say that it is a very special moment. It is wonderful that you took the time to come and visit us at Uppsala University. It is, of course, a tradition that the Nobel laureates come to visit on December 13th and talk to the students and give lectures or discussions. But I know it's an extra effort for you since you were in Oslo before and then come all the way to Uppsala. And also this year, I think it is fair to say that I don't think I ever experienced a peace prize that was so popular among people in general. It is great, it's really moving that you got the prize. So I'm very happy. It's also the case that peace is always a theme in the academic environment in Uppsala. We have peace and conflict research that I dare to say is world leading in this university. But it's also the case that this autumn has been very special in terms of peace in our academic environment. We started this fall semester by honoring Dag Hammarskjöld, since it was 50 years since his death. And we had the great pleasure to have the yearly Dag Hammarskjöld lecture. Always, we have that every year, but this year, of course, it was special. And it is with great joy that I see that Jan Eliasson, who gave that lecture this year, is also here as a guest today. So this is a very nice frame of this fall to have, starting with the Dag Hammarskjöld lecture and ending the semester with you as our guests here. So thank you for joining us here, and we very much look forward to this panel discussion. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm Peter Wallensteen, the holder of the Dag Hammarskjöld Chair of Peace and Conflict Research here at Uppsala University. So it's also my pleasure to welcome Mrs. Leymah Gbowee, welcome to Uppsala, and Mrs. Tawakkol Karman. Ehlan Oas Ehlan Bikon Vi Zemiat Uppsala.
Oh, thank you so much.
We, of course, all congratulate you to the Nobel Peace Prize. And you were awarded this for your nonviolent struggle for the safety of women and women's rights in peace-building work by the Nobel Committee. And of course, you were 3 laureates, and we are sorry that Mrs. Ellen Johnson Sirleaf could not be with us. But we have 2. We have 2 who represent the future of this planet, so we are really very happy to have you here. And in this panel, we will be exploring some of the issues that you have worked with and is going to work with also in the future. So we have a panel composed of several persons that I think will ask you pointed, important questions. First, on your very left here, Tawakkol, is Lena Ag, who is the Secretary General for Kvinna till Kvinna. Actually a former student of peace research, and she will be the first one to ask a question, but then I'll just introduce the others. Next to her is Malin Bergvik, who is the Program Secretary of the Uppsala Association of International Affairs, Utrikespolitiska föreningen, here in Uppsala, one of the major student associations here, a student of law. And next to her is Carl Wenmark Nilsson, also Program Secretary of this illustrious association, and it's also a number of members of this association here in the audience. Carl is a student of social science working right now on a paper on internally displaced persons focusing on Colombia. On the other side of Leymah here is Matilda Lindgren, who is just taking up her studies for a PhD degree in peace and conflict research with a focus on nonviolence and mediation. And next to her is Anders Temner, who has his doctorate in peace research and now associated with the Nordic Africa Institute here in Uppsala, a major resource for research here, working on issues of disarmament of ex-combatants. He's recently back from a period in Liberia. And behind us we have an interpreter who will help us if we need to do so. So it's a very competent group that you are meeting here, and you have a very competent, enthusiastic, I hope, audience in front of you. But I have one question that I'd like to ask you first, before letting the others in. When did you get to know that you had received this prize? Did you know, did you expect it, or was it completely unexpected? And what was exactly the moment when you got to know about it? Leymah, what do you say?
Thank you. Thank you all for coming. This is indeed an honor to be at the University of Uppsala. My closest contact with the name was my former boss, Hans Lindqvist, who worked with the Church of Sweden when I worked for the Lutheran Church. In February this year, we went to New York, where I had a program, and then someone called me from Liberia that the newspapers had done a full story on me, that I had been nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. A friend called and said, you know what? These are very big honor. I want you to remember one thing, even if you don't win, by virtue of the fact that a local girl was mentioned amongst a number of people who have done great things, consider yourself a winner already. And I felt that's true, because there's no way I'm going to win this Nobel Peace Prize. So the mere mention of my name amongst the list of nominees is a win for me. October, I was on my West Coast leg of my book tour. And I had gone from Los Angeles to Seattle to San Francisco. And that night, Sheryl Sandberg, who is the CEO of Facebook, hosted a dinner in my honor and did a private party for my book. At that dinner, she said, you know what? If I had a voice, I would say the Peace Prize goes to Leymah. It's the night before the announcement. And we all laughed about it, and I said, Sheryl, please, don't make my head big. So after that dinner, I'd take a red eye from San Francisco to New York to catch a flight to Accra. And I sat by a man in a very nice business suit for 5.5 hours. We never said anything to each other. I think I probably snored on him all night because I was so tired. And I wore one of these African dresses and just wrapped my head, and I had on a pair of slippers. But my sister had done surgery in France, so I was eager to know what had happened to her. By the time we landed in New York at 7 in the morning, New York time, I put my cell phone on. It said, voice message box filled, text message box filled. And then I said, Lord, I think my sister is dead. And the first text I tried to look at said, yippee. And the next one said, hooray. This is crazy. Nothing makes sense. By the time I got to the fourth text message, it said, Nobel, Nobel, Nobel. I told you, my friend, you were going to win the Nobel Peace Prize. And it was Abigail Disney who had done the documentary, Pray the Devil Back to Hell. I turned typical African to response, scream. But because I was trying to be a bit diplomatic, I turned to the guy I had not spoken to all night and said, sir, he looked at me, I think I won the Nobel Peace Prize. And then he goes like this, because I honestly didn't look like a Nobel announcement. So someone sitting in the front of us immediately heard our conversation, took his BlackBerry, and I think he went to something New York Times, pulled my picture, turned around, looked at me and said, "That's right, she won the prize." And next thing you knew, I was hugging every white man in the business class of that flight. But that was how I got to know. I think I was the last on the continent to know I had won the prize.
Well, that's a modern story on the airplanes. Now, you were in a tent.
Yes. Not I didn't expect that, but I also didn't know that I was a candidate. I live in the tent since February with millions of people in Yemen. They are struggling for their freedom, for their dignity, for the peace in Yemen. I was working in my tent with my laptop. Then my friend, he's a journalist in BBC, he called me, "Tawakkol, congratulations." I said, "Thank you, but for what?" He told me, "For winning." Winning what? Then I told him, "Did they announce?" My mind go to the Foreign Policy magazine because they told me before 1 week that they choose me as one of the top 100 thinkers in the world. Then I told him, "Oh, wow, did they announce?" He said yes. I told him, "That's good. Okay, مع السلامة." Then suddenly, all congratulations around my tent, celebrate, and people, men, women, and I don't know, it's tens of media, cameras, they are around it. What happened? What is it? Then I opened the Nobel, Tawakkol, Nobel. Really, no, I can't explain that moment. It was something, it's big. You know, it isn't not just something just came to Tawakkol. No, it came for, I heard the news in my tent in Change Square, in the period that the revolution didn't finish yet. That means that Yemeni youth, peaceful revolution win. So that means a lot. That means a lot. Wow. My husband and I, before that, at the night of that day, we were so, like sad because our colleagues, they did, and we were, yeah, we were some pessimistic, not pessimistic because I don't believe on pessimistic. He was, Tawakkol, why do international community, they don't see to us? Why don't they do with the Yemen people like what they did with Tunisia and Egypt? And why? And he was so angry that day. I told him, "Muhammad, please calm. People, they are around, they bombs around us. Ali Saleh wants, to attack the square. Suddenly the all dark, gun that now we win in our revolution, and that means that we will build our new Yemen by the gate of Nobel Peace Prize." That means a lot for us. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. Thank you both for sharing these moments. That's another movement of the times.
Yes.
I mean, putting up tents in squares seems to change governments these days. So.
Yes.
Let's now move to the panelists, and Lena Ag, please, your question.
Let me first say that I'm so honored to meet with you, and I think many of us watched the Peace Prize award ceremony, and we listened to your speeches. That was, I was awestruck, and I felt like finally we see some leadership in this world who speaks about values of democracy, human rights, and peace that are so valuable for a sustained peace, for a cornerstone for sustained peace. And I want to, President Johnson Sirleaf made an invitation in her Nobel speech to women and girls everywhere, and she said, "My sisters, my daughters, my friends, find your voices and raise your voices. Let yours be a voice for freedom." And the women's movement in Liberia and the people's movement in Yemen proves that change can happen through peaceful means, but in two different contexts. So I want to ask you, how will you use your own voices and leadership in the futures to let voices of women for peace and freedom be heard, as President Johnson Sirleaf so eloquently put it? How will you work?
Shall I start? I found my voice, and the voice and we found our voice in Yemen through the crisis. We don't find our country. You know, I traveled a lot before the revolution. I went to many countries. They asked me, "Where are you from?" I told them, "I am from Yemen." They said, "Wow, you are from the tourist country." No, we aren't like that. We aren't tourists. Yemeni people, they are peaceful, and they want democracy. And their country, before 5,000 years, ruled by a queen, which ruled this country in democracy. What happened now? There is bad governor. There is a dictatorship. He gave you this image about us. He grew Al-Qaeda and terrorists in our country in one governorate to steal money from the West, and you believed him. I go to many conferences speaking with them about expression rights, about human rights, about women's rights, and in every conferences I told them, we have violence. I did many reports through my organization, Women Journalists Without Chains, about the situation in Yemen become worse and worse and worse. The attacking of expression rights, the wars, the poverty, the disease, the illiteracy. Then I felt bored. ممل? Boring. I felt boring. Why complain? Why did we? I have to be one of the solution, not one of the problem. So we decided that through all this crisis, we have to catch on something, which is the hope. How can we change our country? And how can we change also the world, not just country? Because it's something very hard when you respect the others, you love them, and you feel that they misunderstand you. They hate you because they hate Bin Laden. They are against you because they are against Al-Qaeda. But they are kind people. They are so lovely. They believe on human rights. They believe on democracy. They believe on your right to remove this dictatorship. So how can we build the bridges? It's hard to say some words. Just make bridges. You have to love me. Don't say that. Don't hate Al-Qaeda. I'm not terrorist. But we make it as something clear and something realistic. We made peaceful revolution, which will remove all dictatorship in our countries, and which also tell them we aren't terrorists. Which give you another message also, that we can live with each other. all these dictatorships around all Arab countries, 10 years, they build walls between us because they hate from us, from you and from us, from women, from men, from youth, from west and from east, because they stay in their crisis, in their chairs, under the hate, under the power of hate. So we know our responsibility very much. We know it. We will build this world because it's our world. We will build this world. We can live with all people around the world without asking about their religions, without asking about their cultures or their colors, without asking if it's men or women. We can live with this in this world based on our identity, common مشتركة, هوية مشتركة. Common identity, which is humanity. This is our dream in Arab countries and Muslim countries. And how can we achieve it? We will never achieve it without remove the dictatorship. So we start this step and the new world would remove the dictatorship in our countries.
That's it. Leymah?
You know, I tell people that I did my 101 feminism at home. 5 girls, a very strong grandmother and mother. And we were told as we grew up, if anyone people will put barriers before you and say, don't pass, obey that. But don't ever allow anyone to put barrier before your mouth and say, don't talk. So as a child, my voice was given to me by my mother, by my grandmother, and I knew that from my growing up years, I had a voice. I could speak truth to situations, and though I got in trouble many times, but in my growing up years, I saw that the adults would never treat me the way they treated me when I told them I didn't like a particular thing. Over the last few years, I've also come to realize and learn from a lot of people that when you speak and live by what you speak, you bring a lot of people along with you, because finding a voice is finding your issues, speaking about your issues fearlessly, and you will see how many people you are able to carry along. When I joined the women's movement in Liberia, I have a mentor, a Tweeder Cooper. Sugars, from the moment Charles Taylor came into power, some of the older women from the Americo-Liberian descent went and started engaging with him. They were of the mindset that he's our own, and if we engage with him, he might just change. The first meeting they went to, she stood up and told him, I don't like you. I don't like what you stand for, and I will never engage you. Charles Taylor left Liberia, but prior to his departure, he had an opportunity of talking with someone. And he said one thing as it relates to the women of Liberia. The one woman I have respect for in this country is a Tweeder Cooper. She said she hated me. She lived by it for the entire time I was in this country. If you have found a voice about a particular issue, and for me, when I started with Sugars, she would say to me, if this is black, say it is black. Be remembered as the only person that said it is black when everyone else was trying to be too diplomatic to say it is black. We went to Accra to protest during the war, and the warlords one day said to me, can I take you for lunch? And I turned and looked at him and said, sir, I don't eat with killers. He said, I knew it. From the moment I saw you with a Tweeder Cooper, I knew your future was lost. This is one woman who never has respect for any authority. She speaks at will. But she helped me enhance the voice that I have. Over time, I've been going into countries, meeting with young girls. I spent this last weekend, 2 weekends now, in Nigeria. And in an audience of 200 teenagers, the message was, find your voice. Speak out about issues that you don't like. Be known for speaking out about issues that you're not comfortable with. Don't be diplomatic. If it will hurt, let it hurt, but say the truth. 2006, UN Security Council invited me to do something called the ORIO formula on UN Security Council Resolution 1325. At that time, the US government had this ambassador who was like a cowboy. He would just say things about things he knew nothing about, like he had so much authority, especially as it relates to women's issue. I went to that meeting, told them my mind, and the room was very quiet. Afterwards, the only thing he said, boy, where did you all get this African woman that just came and ranted all day at us? But you know something? I respect you because you sat here and you said your mind, and to hell with all of us. The one thing I say to myself often, you may never have the opportunity to find your voice or to speak the truth if you try to make it sterile. So to a lot of young people, you will be in situations where you know it is not right. You will be at a job where you think this is my only option for getting money, so I have to compromise my principles. I tell a lot of you, and I will say it over and over and again to children everywhere, young people, you don't leave legacy by being silent. You don't leave legacy by following the crowd. You leave legacies when you find your voice and you speak truth to power. A lot of my energy now as a Nobel laureate, I already had a loud mouth. Now I have a louder mouth and a bigger platform. I'm going to use it to speak and to help other women bring their issues to the forefront. There are many forgotten conflicts in Africa. Acholi Land, Uganda, Zimbabwe. You go to all of Chad, all of these different places where people do not see the humanitarian situation and some of the crises women are going through. I'm going to be helping my sisters find their voice. They already have it, but how do we put it in the public sphere? That's what I'm going to be helping them to do. It's going to be a long road, but it's doable.
Thank you very much. Yes, indeed, you have voices. There's no doubt about that. Anders, your question.
Yes, thank you very much. Dear Leymah, I would like to ask a question to you at this moment. You and the brave members of the Women of Liberia Mass Action for Peace played an important role in bringing an end to the civil war in Liberia. However, as you are well aware of, the peace in Liberia is still a fragile one. Not only is there a huge group of marginalized and unemployed youths, you also have problems with land disputes, ethnic and political tensions. There are also some connections between ex-combatants, commanders, and some top politicians. What I'm wondering is, what can women movements do to address these challenges and contribute to building a more sustainable peace in Liberia?
Thank you. We have to reconsolidate and re-strategize. One of the things that became very clear to us during the elections period is that the dimensions of the work that we did and the context is completely different from those days. When a group of women decided to go and speak to some youth of the main opposition and got assaulted, that's when we knew we had to change our strategies. Because all of the Taylor years, we were protected by some of his soldiers. We had never gotten to that place where women were physically attacked by either the soldiers or the rebels. So we know the first thing we have to re-strategize. And also, amongst ourselves, over time, there have been some divisions and some disintegration of the women's movement. If I sit here and say, all is well, I'll be a liar. We had come to a place immediately after the elections where there were many things, and many things happen when the spotlight is on a nation. We had Africa's first elected president. People felt like we were the champions of the world, and many donors flooded into Liberia with different interests. They weren't looking for the interests of the women of Liberia. They were looking for strong women to promote their interests. So you had people throwing money at women's groups and groups disintegrating gradually because your expertise is not female genital mutilation, but because you're getting $50,000 and maybe 10 of that is going to your overhead admin costs, instead of staying in poverty and staying focused in your advocacy, I would rather grab this and do what I have to do. So we've come to a place now where we're asking ourselves, 2 Nobel laureates, what legacy do we want to leave? If Liberia disintegrated into crisis, people will laugh their head off at us. That's one. 2 African women are saying to us, the first challenge was, if you don't get Ellen re-elected, we have no respect for you as a women's movement in Liberia. So during the elections, women had to kind of like say to themselves, hey, in as much as we have X, Y, Z differences, we need to band together and show that this woman is re-elected to save our face. That has come out of the way. November 7 proved a crucial challenge to us, like you rightly said. When the main opposition had their demonstration, we sat down, just a few of us again, who started the mass action campaign that morning and said, we need to rehumanize some of these young people. We need to get to know them because the attitudes that we're seeing them exhibit in their different communities is because we have drawn this line about us versus them. So we went to meet with, and for me it was a bitter pill to swallow. Honestly, this is one individual who, every time I saw on the TV, I just got angry. A very young man. But that morning, we said to ourselves, it's necessary. I called his phone. He agreed to meet with me. We went to his house. And you can imagine you're upset, you're angry because I spent the whole night crying. And this young man now said to his family, prepare breakfast for these people. I'm sitting there and saying to myself, wow. So we offered breakfast. And then something said to me, take off your Liberian hat and put on your peace-building hat. Because this is the only way you'll be able to do this. And I put on my peace-building hat, and the next thing I see are relatives, children of this young man. But beyond that, I saw such fear in the faces of these people. And I started asking the auntie questions, and then she said to me, please, if you have any way of working with him, do it. Because this is no life for us. He is our only hope. Anyway, we went on and on and on. Today, that young man is a key player with the youth. He has thousands of followers. But gradually, I've come to understand him. Gradually, he's come to understand me. Gradually, we're getting to a place where when the government is totally lost, he points things to me and says, tell them to do this. And I think if we as women can come back together and go into communities and start to rehumanize these youth that were dehumanized in the political process during the war, like we did during disarmament, we're going to go a long way. I have a whole list of things that needs to be done in Liberia, and most of the ideas came from this young man. One of the things that being a Nobel laureate does for a person is that you have access to big people. So I called Archbishop Tutu and said to him, I need for you to talk to someone. I don't know what the conversation was, but after he had that conversation with the Archbishop, he called everyone in his political party and said, Bishop Desmond Tutu say X, Y, Z. We've been seeing the rhetorics come down, but we really, really need, as a people, there's a lot of anger in Liberia from different sides. Women are angry, the youth are angry, politicians are angry. There is a need for us to do dialogue. Someone said in the 70s in Liberia, they used to have something called open talk, where a hall was available. People would walk in at particular times during the week, and you could just vent. I'm looking to starting something like that as the one leading the National Reconciliation Initiative. Open a day where people can come, have live radio broadcasts, let them know and feel like the world is hearing us. If it's just to talk about how they slept hungry, how they need this, how they need that, but if we don't get the voices of people out, we will never see the light of day when it comes to reconciliation in that country. That's the first thing. 2, job provisions for the youth is crucial. People can only feel part of a process if they have a stake in it. And a lot of the young people in Liberia now feel, why should I be peaceful when I have nothing to gain? If we have war, I can loot, I can kill, I can do something and get something. So we have to make peace very sexy for the young people in Liberia. Right now, it's so unsexy. It looks like something out of, so we have to make peace very sexy for them. Also, finally, we have to put the government has a responsibility to put a lot of structure in place long-term for youth empowerment. I'm sure some of you know, but the president asked me to lead our National Reconciliation Initiative. And from every side of the divide, I've gotten serious bashing. One of the things that we know that we're clear of is that we will not take any funding from the government if we must be seen as independent. That's 1. 2, I'm taking no salary at all from the government. And by the time all of these started coming out, people now started saying, okay, we think you're the best person for this job, because everyone says he who plays the piper drives the tune. Yes, and so we don't want to get to that, but we have serious challenges beyond the young men. Teen prostitution, the pregnancy rate is from 10, 11, 12, 13 now. A 13-year-old a month ago had a set of twins. It's drug culture is quietly creeping into. We have serious challenges, and the women has a serious role to play in this, but we have to get our act together fast.
Thank you very much. Good luck with the reconciliation initiative. Matilda has a question.
Yes, I think you both are a great inspiration for everybody in here and around the world. But I'm curious, Tawakkol, what is your inspiration to choose, use and promote nonviolence in an environment that for many of us would seem conducive for violence, with access to light arms and small weapons, small arms and light weapons, and multiple social tensions and a history of armed conflict?
They are 3. 4. 3 men and 1 woman. Mahatma Gandhi, Nelson Mandela, and Martin Luther King. Also, the Mother Teresa. Really, if you go to my house, you will see all their pictures in my house, even in my tent, even in my laptop. They give us they give all the world a good gift. They learn people how to struggle by peaceful way. By the way, our peaceful movement doesn't start since January after Tunisian revolution. It was before. before 2005. When Mrs. President Johnson, when she said in the Nobel Peace Prize stage, "Find your voice," I wanted to cry, because it's really the solution. Find your voice. I remembered at that time when I was taking my microphone and in the streets, from street to street, and say, wake up, people, wake up. Alone, just alone with two of my friends and small group of youth, of students like who are sitting with us here. And they were laugh at us, especially in Yemen. Wow, woman, she go in the street and she speak loudly with that microphone. It's something shame. It's something shame. No, we continue it. We didn't give up. We find our voice and we export this feeling to all people. Now, all Yemeni people, they found their voice. And also all Tunisian, all Egypt, they found their voice through their revolutions. We were with this, and please take your microphones when you want to make some struggle. It's very important to be heard. Don't give up. Don't give up, never ever. You have to continue. If you find your voice, be sure that your voice will reach to everyone that he was laughed at you. That's what happened. So, when we were, how can we solve all Yemeni problems? We take this method, peaceful. Who gave us this? The inspiration is these 4 inspirations. Inspiration. Thank you. Today I am so comfortable, so I can speak English. Thank you. I am with my family, by the way. And also I am with the student, because the students, I believe that all the problems in all the world will start their solution from the students. The students must take the responsibility, not just study, going to the exam, and finally they graduated. No, they have to care in all the issues, inside their countries and outside their countries. I went to Sana'a University and many universities, and I told them, find your voice, please. Don't be like this, silent. Our country crisis collapsed around us. Then, when they discover their voice, they go to the street, and it was so loud. They could step down. Ali Abdullah Saleh. Really, wow. So that is the answer. If you want to speak a lot, but that is the answer, is Mahatma Gandhi and Martin Luther King and Teresa and Nelson Mandela. Thank you for him. And I hope to visit Nelson Mandela to South Africa, and I will do. Yeah.
Yeah, you are colleagues now as Peace
Prize
laureates.
Yes. I will visit my colleague, please. I will visit.
Okay.
I sent message to Barack Obama. He sent me message that he congratulated me. And I said, my colleague, Barack Obama, thank you so much. When will you praise money of Ali Abdullah Saleh? Yes, I said that.
Carl,
Okay.
Carl has the next question. Yeah.
Well, first of all, let me just say for our students, as you said, it's a great inspiration to have both of you here. And I bet you've heard this a million times, but now you know that goes for Uppsala as well. So we're really proud to have you here. So my question goes to you, Tawakkol, because in your article called Yemen's Unfinished Revolution, which was published previously this year, you shed some light on the fact that the international community sometimes tend to have a rather dubious policy towards Yemen. in this case being the United States, supporting rather than criticizing the Saleh regime because of the many military interests in that region due to the war on terrorism. So as a leading peace activist in the country, do you still today see that powerful consensus from Washington or from other parts of the world as a block or a threat towards a peaceful transition to democracy in Yemen?
Yes, I think Yemen, and before that, Tunisia somehow, Egypt, Libya, Syria now, they didn't finish their revolution. Because the revolution is long steps. It's long. It starts with step down the dictatorship. It's the number one. We have many priorities, many goals. First, step down the dictatorship. When we finish, we make check. Let's go to the second. So we didn't. Even in the first step, yes, we stepped down. We already stepped down Ali Saleh. He lost all his control around the Yemen, and he lost his legitimacy inside and outside Yemen after his signature. Now he isn't president, but he still has a power, which is money, which is the money of people that he has stolen since 33 years. That is why, in my speech, I told that international community has to respond to their responsibility, not to the demand of people, to their responsibility, because always they raise human rights as a slogan, anti-corruption as a slogan, so they have to respond to their responsibility. When any people wants to be free from their dictatorship, they have to freeze its assets. And taking him to the ICC if he started killing his people. So until now, that hasn't happened in Yemen. Until now, Ali Saleh has money, which is strong power. And why didn't they give him, freeze his money like what they did with Ben Ali and with Mubarak and with Al-Qaddafi and with even Bashar al-Assad? I told the parliament, and we was in the parliament, I told them these things. So I give you the same message that I gave to the parliament. Sweden has to, Sweden, okay. I want to be correct. Sweden has to start that, because Sweden has a good reputation in all Arab countries. We love you. Really, we love you. You are a great country. And all the Scandinavians countries, they are great country. It's the human rights, it's something in their blood. It's your value, it's your conveyance. So I told them, why are you wait until now? Until he's killing people in Sana'a and Ta'iz. He kills people because he doesn't lose his power. So to the students, special students and professors, you have to do also your responsibility. You have to convince and to struggle with your brothers and sisters, with your colleagues, with the students who lost their lives for their dreams in human rights to achieve. Do you know what we want and what we will achieve? New country, which build in democracy and human rights and citizen and equal citizenship and rule of law. Will we fail? No. We start with number one. We have many steps. We will reach to this point, And we want to reach to this build with you. We will win. We will struggle. We will, you know, how many people that he will kill? We are ready. Because it's dignity battle. It's dignity battle. We will win. Will we be alone? This is the question. Will we be alone? This is the question. We are continuous. You have to choose the answer. Thank you.
Thank you. Time goes quickly when you have a fascinating discussion. We have one more question, and that's from Malin.
Thank you both for coming here today. Just like Carl said, it's really an honor to have you here. I have a question about next year's Nobel Peace Prize. I was wondering, who do you think should be awarded the prize and why? Me? Yeah, both of you.
I want to see a person who is smaller than me. Yes, I want one of the youth. I hope.
Well, I would like to see, my mind is totally biased. Another woman, or maybe another three, representing different continents and different struggles. Because this year's prize is one of those times where you actually have people women who are engaging in that peace, the tangible conduct of peace. Tawakkol has maybe 40, 50 more years. I have maybe 30, 40 more years to keep the torch alive. If we get more women to do this work, it's going to be great. 15 is a good number, but it's not good enough. If you're talking about affirmative action, the Nobel Committee has not achieved that yet. Minimum 30%. It's probably 10% or so that they've been able to achieve. So people who are actually doing the work, and if they look into different communities in different parts of the world, I'm sure they will see women who are definitely out there and advocating for peace. It may be in Europe, it may be in Africa, it may be in the Middle East, it may be in South America, but there are women who are doing great work that needs to be encouraged. But beyond that, what this year's prize has done for girls globally, no one will understand. Because like President Sirleaf said, a lot of young people, young women will step out and find their voices, and they will be agents of change in their different communities. That's my firmest belief.
I'll give instructions.
Just a moment, I want to correct my phrase.
Sure.
What was your question? Yeah, next year, yes. Well, I hope that the person who will come to be younger than me, not younger than me.
I'll give instructions.
That means that youth doing very well, that they are participated in all things. And without youth and without women, all our dreams, public dreams, will not achieve. Yes.
Well, one of the things I think you will have discovered, having received this award, is that your schedule becomes very tight. And we are also under a very tight schedule here. What I have in front of me here is a copy of the diploma that both of you received. This is just a copy. You have the original. But I asked you both to sign them, and I think the panelists that we have had here have performed very well. I think they deserve a diploma as well. So I would now like you to hand this to Matilda and Anders, and you give this to Lena, to Malin and Carl. So this is our own Peace Prize award ceremony. Thank you.
I
have one. I have one. Okay.